A full paper. Hello, greetings. R. Frederick Riddle here with another Christian news and views. And by the way, this is episode 73. And this is Wednesday, and we have a number of issues here. And so instead of trying to pick out which one I want to focus on, I'm going to touch on several of them and just give you an oversight of it because it's really been, the newspaper's been a busy place apparently. The biggest headline was a place that's really actually local, but it covers, might be of national interest too, and that's right here. Sunseeker is for sale. Now, for those who you don't know, Sunseeker is a resort in this area, the Port Charlotte area, and it's opened up in December of 2023. And it's like I said, it's a resort. It has over 700 rooms, so it has a lot of rooms, and it is currently owned by Allegiant Airlines. And the news is that it's for sale now, and reason is it's been losing some money. It didn't attract enough people soon enough. Problem is is branding. The next part of it is that it's a brand new. Excuse me, don't mean to play on words here, but it's brand new brand. The they There might be some marketing issues. I have my own opinions on where they should market. They do actually, to some degree, market along the lines that I think they should, but I think of Sunseeker as a hub. They thought of it as a destination, and I think it's a great hub. We have places that people could come to stay there at Sunseeker and go north to Sarasota to see the sights and then come back to Sunseeker. They could go south to Fort Myers, Naples, Cape Coral, even all the way down to Everglades, and then come back. And they can go east. They can go southeast, all the way to Miami, and still come back if they wanted to in the same day. But not going to go much more west. Is kind of out of line because right there, Sunseeker is right there in the port, right on next to the Mediterranean. Not the Mediterranean, right to our Gulf here. And so the thing is, there's a lot of different issues there. But that's not the only one. So let's get started and take a look at them. And like I said, since we started out with Sunseeker, we will continue. And here's what it says. Allegiant Travel Company announced Tuesday it plans to sell a majority interest in Charlotte Harbor luxury property. So it talks about the money that's lost and so forth, and we won't get into there, but they're reaching out and looking for investors. So people sometimes ask me my opinion, since I live here, about it. Well, first of all, the rumor of a sale has been going on for some time. Whether that was true before or not, we don't know that. They are reaching out now. It's just been announced that they're reaching out now. So they have been reaching out for investors in the past, and I think a lot of people jumped the gun and thought that meant they were for sale. And they're still not quite for sale. It says for sale, but they're also saying it's for at least a majority interest, which means the controlling interest would be it. They might keep a minority interest in it. On the other hand, they might sell it completely. I think that's still on the discussion. It's still on the table as to how they want to do that. But it's the thing that we got to remember is that Sunseeker is the first ever endeavor of an airline, to my knowledge, of getting into the hospitality industry. That's not been all that successful for them, but you got to understand it was the first ever. There's no playbook to go by. They can go check on hotels and things like that. Those are slightly different, and that probably helped them out a little bit. But in some cases, it was brand new, and they had to go through a learning cycle, which I regard the first year as a learning cycle. They also got hit, even before they ever opened, by Hurricane Ian, and they've been hit by hurricanes since then. The latest have been Helene and then Milton. Milton really did a number on them, and they're still recovering from Milton. And so the thing is that the Sunseeker has been battered by things that they had no control over. Well, I believe the ship can still be righted and ultimately be successful. That said, I think they will have to re-examine the resort both internally and externally. And maybe getting fresh blood in there, so to speak, might be the necessary first step. So the verdict is still out on Sunseeker, but this could represent a positive step towards a profitable future. So although the headline says for sale, I would think, and I'm just speculating here, that what they're looking for is new money. They're looking for someone to maybe come alongside. Maybe, now they're saying that they're emphasizing the majority sale, majority interest. So if that's the case, then they want to shift responsibility to a new management style. And that's what you will get. If you get new management, you'll get a change of direction probably, a change in outlook and how they run things and how they do things, all of which can be positive. My own feeling on it is, like I've already said, Sunseeker is located in an area where it naturally is a hub. And they do have, I think, some marketing in that direction, but their major marketing has been in the sense of it's a destination place. And as it grows, and there are plans, I don't know what the future for those plans are, but they want to build 2 more towers, and they want to expand what they offer to potential guests. So there are plans along the line of maybe reaching out more to the families. They actually advertise to families now, but it's primarily an adult place, from what I have seen, and it's but there is swimming there, but again, if it's a hub, it makes sense as a family place. You go there, you stay. Their rooms are fantastic. They have some great restaurants, and I've actually eaten in their food court, and I loved the food. It was really good. But the thing is, how they market going forward. And that is something, if they do sell, that's something that the new management that comes in will have something to say about. And hopefully, and my hope in here is, I'm giving my opinion now, is that they will take a serious look at the hub aspects of this. Port Charlotte itself and Charlotte County itself has a lot to offer to guests and vacationers. And then you can go to Arcadia to the north, Sarasota to the north, and you get what they have to offer. You can go down to Lee County and other counties to the south and to the east, as I already mentioned. And there's things there in which people can go to. And when you have a hub where they can go from place to place to place and then return home, well, not home, but return to like a base of operations, if you will, and Sunseeker would be that base, I think that speaks well. They're going after people right now, I believe they're going after people with a lot of money. But I think that too, that's another shift they might want to consider. What about going to those who don't have quite so much money, but would still like to be able to participate? And I think they're structured for that as well, if they want to. So it all comes down to how the new management will look at things and how they will address things. I think that Sunseeker is something that has a potential to succeed. So with that, we'll move on. Next one is the Education Department. And the headline here says, Will Trump nix federal education leadership? And yes, it looks like the president wants to close the Federal Department of Education. Most conservatives, including myself, think this would be a good idea. Well, why? Well, there are 50 states, and you can almost figure that there's 50 different ways of looking at education. Different states want to do different things. And so what they try to do is influence the national government, but the national government largely been taken over by the woke movement. And so that's another reason for it closing it down. Once a poison gets into something, it's very hard to get it out. Human body is the same way. We get poison in us and we end up in the hospital. And they have to get that poison out. For a government agency, cleaning house, maybe reducing the footprint, or maybe just abolishing it altogether, these are things that need to be looked at, because there's a poison there that tends to give out, makes our education really second place. Well, I don't even know if it's second place when you look at the worldwide as far as its accomplishments. And it confuses things, and it confuses issues. When an education department gets into these debates about sexual orientation and things of this nature, this DEI, which stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, is better known as wokeism. Now, that's again my opinion, but I see very little difference between the two. And both of them, they substitute a manufactured morality for biblical morality. The Bible is the only one that should be considered for if they want to have look at things from a moral point of view. Same thing with intelligence. The Bible is a very intelligent book. It's a book that has some very strong principles that actually guided our education efforts in this nation for a long time, until the liberals started moving in. And then they wanted to have this is what actually resulted in us having an educational department. And it gave them a footprint, a foothold, if you will, so that they could influence the whole education system throughout the United States. And it's been a failure. I don't know of any other word to describe it. There's some people who think it's been a success. They have a hard time proving that. So what's going on right now is the Trump administration is going through what I would call the first steps, which will include how there are some good aspects to the education department. Some things they need to get rid of, but there are other things that have value. These have to be found, examined, and then placed in their proper department. If they keep the Department of Education, then I downsize it and have it focused on those things. If they don't keep the department, they decide to get rid of it, then what you do is you take these individual things and put them in a more appropriate department, and they do exist. So the thing is, those are things in which they have to decide. This is again first steps, and it may take most of Trump's administration to figure all that out. It's a complicated issue, and it's a messy issue, and so you're just going to have to start doing some cleaning, and they may have to do the cleaning before they can actually make some hard decisions. So that's something that we'll have to watch and see how it works out. Now I come to the DEA lawsuit. And I want to, let's see if I can find this real quick. Here we are. So what we want to talk about here is called Baltimore sues Trump. New lawsuit says DEI orders are unconstitutional. So this is speaking of DEI again. In this case, because some of the executive orders are canceling, doing away with DEI, which as I've already indicated, is another word, or it's actually a term. DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Just be honest with you, let's just call it wokeism. To me, they're one and the same. There might be some minor differences in it. Wokeism itself is a stolen word. It used to be something that came out of the black community. It was very moral. I think it was, according to my research, it was basically biblically based. But the liberals took that term and adopted it for themselves and changed it completely around. I think it needs to be returned to the black community and let them take it back and clean it up and get it back to what it's supposed to be. But it was a theft, an outright theft. In this case, not of money, but of an idea, of I don't know if I'd call it a movement or not, but of a thought process, a way of looking at things, which in itself was not bad, and definitely had some good elements in it. But when the liberals got into it, it messed it all up, and messed this country up as well. So that needs to be done away with. Now, as far as this lawsuit is concerned, Baltimore wants to keep DEI. It's not that they don't want DEI. They don't want the Trump executive orders to take place. It says here, Baltimore and its mayor are suing President Donald Trump and several federal departments to block executive orders that dismantle, there you are, diversity, equity, and inclusion in public and private sectors. So it talks about, it's a 42-page federal lawsuit. They filed it in U.S. District Court in Maryland, and it was one of the DEI orders in the first 100 hours of Trump's second term. And they're claiming that they're unconstitutional. I don't think they have any grounds for that. We'll just have to see how that goes. It's going to be interesting to follow it. But in the end, I don't see this as going very far. Now, I could be wrong. You never know what's going to catch, what's something going to happen once it gets in the court system. But they are claiming certain constitutional rights that basically don't exist. And so and what he wants to do, I think he's perfectly well within his legal rights to do. So that's something that, again, we'll simply have to watch and see how it plays out. Project 2025. This was a letter to the editor, and let's see if I can find that real quick here. I wasn't going to do this, so I don't know if I can have it here real quick. So I don't. One more try, and then we'll just give it up on that as far as trying it. I know where, if I see it, I'll see it real quick. Oh, here we are. Okay. So, excuse me for the mess here. Let me just get this real quick. Trump closely following Project 2025 playbook. No, I'm sorry, but this is funny. But I will read something. They're talking about that he has taken in the last 10 days that were outlined in Project 2025. And he says, suspending refugee admissions, suspending asylum claims, militarizing the southern border, declaring there are only two genders, drilling for oil and gas in Alaska, withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement, withdrawing from the World Health Organization, withdrawing from a global tax deal, ending protections for federal workers, ending diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, freezing federal job hiring, revoking security clearances, ending efforts to fight misinformation. Ladies and gentlemen, did you notice that every one of these have existed before we ever heard about Project 2025? These are conservative issues that have existed some of them have existed for a long time. And so now it's coming up again in a letter to an editor. And I touch on it mostly because it's laughable. But it's also because this is the mindset of the liberals. The letter writer actually listed what he considers, or she considers, I think it's a woman, yeah, she considers bad things. I consider these things good. Suspending asylum claims. These asylum claims were bypassing normal asylum laws. And so we're trying to get back to how it's supposed to be, what it was set up to be, and back to doing the right way. Militarizing the southern border, that's just meaning enforcing, building a wall and enforcing it so illegal immigrants can't come across like they have been. Declaring there are only two genders. We've been saying two genders for a long, long time before Project 25 ever existed, let alone us hearing about it. Excuse me. So, drilling for oil and gas in Alaska. That's been going on before Trump ever became president. That issue, those are reserves set aside. And the president has the right to do that. And different presidents, some have said no, some have said yes. Some have I think Trump actually opened them up a little bit during his presidency, his first presidency. And we benefited from it, by the way. We became an energy leader, by the way. Here's another one. Withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement. We should never have gotten in it in the first place. World Health Organization. That's a subject all its own. And it just goes on and on. So I don't know his personal opinion, but I do know that every one of the items listed have been conservative issues before we ever heard of Project 25, before some of them, perhaps most of them, before Trump ever even ran for the presidency the first time. So assuming the writer is correct in identifying these as actions, and I believe she's right, then the Trump administration, what would I say to it? Hooray! Good for you! I would further add that this only cements his conservative principles. So, this has been one of my more enjoyable looking at the issues of the day, especially to hit it on this. The Democrats and the liberals they just still have not recovered from their defeat, and they're still pointing fingers, and they're still just lashing out, throwing mud at anything they can think of, and hoping it sticks. So that's it for today as far as the issues are concerned. If you enjoy Christian news and views, let me just invite you to subscribe down below here. By subscribing, you not only ensure that you have access to both my podcasts, which is Christian News and Views, which you're watching right now, and becoming a published author is fun. And if you are somebody who has a story to tell, you think that you would like to be a writer someday, then this is something that you can get some free advice, coaching tips, advice, whatever, and stuff that you can use now or in the near future. But on top of that, you also are encouraging me. So in response, I encourage you to subscribe And I will do all in my power to create episodes that will inform you, encourage you, and inspire you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is on that note I want to finish. And I will see you in the next episode.